Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the very first episode of the Peace, Purpose, and Paid podcast. This is a space where healing meets ambition, where we turn pain into power, purpose into profits, and survival stories into success stories. My name is Lisa. I am your host, and I'm so grateful that you are here with me today. Now, before we dive into the conversations about money, mindset, rebuilding our lives, and creating the future that we deserve, I want to start by sharing something with you. I want to tell you my story because Peace, Purpose, and Paid did not just come from an idea, okay? It came from survival. There was a time in my life where I was not thinking about purpose. I was not thinking about financial freedom. I wasn't thinking about building a brand or helping other people rebuild their lives. I was literally just trying to survive, okay? Literally just trying to survive. And when you're in survival mode, your world becomes very, very small. Your thoughts are focused on things like, how do I make it through the day? How do I keep going when everything inside me feels broken? How did my life end up here? And honestly, thinking like that is exhausting, okay? And sometimes survival mode does not look like dramatic from the outside, okay? Sometimes it looks like smiling in public while you're hurting in private. Sometimes it looks like pretending everything is okay when deep down you feel lost. And for me, survival mode meant living through something that changed my life forever. I was in a marriage that became extremely abusive. At first, like many abusive situations, it did not start out that way, okay? It never starts out that way. It always starts with charm, with promises, with someone making you feel like you're loved and protected. But slowly, things began to change. Arguments became more frequent. Control started creeping in. Isolation started happening. Isolation from my friends and family, And before I even realized what was happening, I found myself in a situation where the person who was supposed to love me, the person that I dedicated my life to, the person that I made vows with for better or for worse, for richer, for poorer, till death do we part, that person was the very person hurting me. And abuse isn't always just physical, okay? Let me make that very clear. Abuse is not always just physical. I went through emotional abuse. I went through spiritual abuse, psychological abuse, financial abuse. And those are different stories for different days, but we're definitely going to get into it, okay? But abuse is not always physical, okay? It's the feeling that you're losing yourself piece by piece until one day you look in the mirror and you barely even recognize the person staring back at you. So for a long time, I believed that if I just tried harder, things would get better. If I just loved harder, if I forgave more, if I just stayed patient. But the truth is something many people learn the hard way, including myself. I definitely had to learn this truth the hard way. You cannot love someone into becoming a better person. And there comes a moment in your life where survival becomes a choice. There comes a moment in your life where you realize, if I stay here, if I stay in this situation, I might not make it out. And that realization is terrifying, okay? That realization is absolutely terrifying, but guess what? It's also very, very powerful, okay? Because that's the moment where something inside you wakes up. And for me, that moment was the beginning of something I didn't even realize yet. It was the beginning of my journey toward peace, purpose, and paid. Leaving an abusive situation doesn't magically fix everything. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't make everything easier. In fact, that's where the real work begins, because now you have to rebuild. You have to rebuild your confidence. You have to rebuild your identity. You have to rebuild your trust in people. You have to rebuild your trust in yourself. And you have to figure out who you are outside of the pain you experienced. And that process takes time. It could take a month. It could take 6 months. It can take a year. Healing is not a linear process, okay? It takes time. It takes reflection. It takes healing. It takes courage. But something beautiful happens during that process, guys. You start learning about yourself, things that you never knew before. You start to realize that you're stronger than you thought. You realize that what tried to destroy you did not win. And slowly, little by little, you start creating a new life. And that's where the idea for this platform came. 3 words: peace, purpose, and paid. Now let's talk about it. Peace. Peace is not the absence of problems, okay? Let me make that very clear. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the moment that you decide your past will no longer control your future. Peace is learning how to quiet the chaos in your mind. Peace is learning how to forgive yourself for the things that were never your fault. It's learning how to protect your energy and your boundaries. Peace is powerful. Peace is freedom. Purpose. Purpose is when your pain becomes useful. When the things you survived become the very things that help someone else survive. Purpose is realizing that your story isn't just something that happened to you. It's something that can help other people find their way out of darkness. And when you step into your purpose, life starts to feel different. When you step into your purpose, a lot of things that you tolerated before, you no longer tolerate. When you step into your purpose, a lot of crowds you used to be in, you don't run with those crowds no more. Now let's talk about the last word, paid. Because let's be honest, healing and purpose are beautiful, right? But we also live in a world where financial freedom matters. Being paid is about more than just money, okay? It's about options. It's about freedom. It's about building a life where you no longer feel trapped in situations that harm you, because now you have the ability to take care of yourself. You are no longer dependent on anyone or anything. And that is something that we are going to talk about a lot on this podcast. So if you're listening today and you feel like you are stuck, if you feel like your life is in pieces, and if you feel like you're still in survival mode, I want you to hear something very, very clearly. Your story is not over. Your past does not disqualify you from building a powerful future. You can rebuild. I promise you, you can rebuild and you can heal, okay? You can discover your purpose. And yes, you can create a life where you are peaceful, purposeful, and paid. Thank you for being here with me for the very first episode of the Peace, Purpose, and Paid podcast. And remember this, peace is possible. Purpose is real. And you absolutely deserve to be paid while building the life you were meant to live. That is why Peace, Purpose, and Paid is the mission. My name is Lisa. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Do good, be good. I will see you in the next one. Peace.